When did you guys meet, and how was he when you first met?
Well, when we first met, he was like my best friend. He had the best mama jokes ever.
Your mama jokes?
Oh, mama jokes, yeah. Oh, he had the best mama jokes. Loved to play basketball. We were more like brother and sister.
And you then became his backup dancer.
I became his choreographer and his principal dancer, yes.
At what point did your brother-sister relationship turn into something more?
You know, people have asked me that and I can't pinpoint it like a specific date, but I do know the moment that he said he fell in love with me. He said, I was in the back of the tour bus and the curtain was open in the window and I was reading my Bible. And he said, the sun was shining on you. He's like, oh my God, you look like an angel. I did not want to disturb you. So I just crept out and closed the door. You didn't even know that I saw you. And he was like, that's the moment I saw you differently.
Right. When did you fall for him?
I think it was something about him being vulnerable because the rest of the world saw him as R. Kelly. In that moment, I got to just see Robert, a boy from the South Side. And I think that it made me open up a place in my heart that maybe I shouldn't have, because when you come from abuse, you attract abuse. And the first time I ever saw a man abuse a woman was actually my grandfather, and he was a Baptist preacher.
Really?
So the abuse was not...
Are we talking physical abuse, emotional abuse?
Physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. And for me, God, love, and pain were all the same because that's what I grew up in. So of course, if the man of the cloth is abusive, why wouldn't a man of the world be? Right. So it wasn't unfamiliar to me. It was very familiar to me when it did happen.
Right. Tell us about when you say things turned abusive in your marriage.
That is a question that a lot of people ask women, and you can't pinpoint it because people don't understand the physical is actually the aftermath of all the abuse you've been in. You've already been in the verbal, you've already been in the emotional. I was in the economic and financial abuse already. So when it becomes physical, again, it's like breaking down a tree. You don't do it with one swing of the axe. It takes several swings of the axe to weaken the trunk for the tree to fall.
And I think you're pointing out something very important, considering this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. A lot of times people think it has to be physical for it to be abuse, but there is emotional abuse, which can take its toll.
Yes.
There is the mental abuse. There's the verbal abuse. Is that how it started for you?
It did. It did. Yeah. Because it was very hard to differentiate between him being controlling and how he's running his ship. Because again, you have to understand, he started as my boss. So when you're controlling and you say the dancers have to be in their room at a certain time, you're not allowed to talk to the other people on tour, you know, don't even look at, and people who know what I'm talking about, who have been on tour with me, we weren't even allowed to talk to the other dancers, the other artists. We had to stay in our dressing room. So of course, I'm like, well, this is my boss. If that's how he runs his ship, that's how he runs his ship, not knowing that that was one of the traits of him being controlling.
Right. So many people are going to look at this and go, that's not R. Kelly.
Yeah.
How do you convince people that the man you were married to did the things you're alleging?
People need to understand that R. Kelly is a persona, Robert Kelly is a person. I was married to Robert Kelly, the person.
Well, we reached out to R. Kelly about his ex-wife's allegations. He had no comments. Chicago dancer Drea Kelly was married to R. Kelly for 13 years. She claims he physically abused her throughout the marriage, which ended in 2006. Here's more of my sit-down with Drea Kelly. When did you know you had to get out?
When I contemplated suicide, when I tried to kill myself.
You're way too vibrant to ever have thought something like that.
Oh, no. And that's what people think. They think, oh, it's for the uneducated woman. It's the poor woman who ends up doing things like that. Again, going through the emotional abuse, the verbal abuse, the financial abuse, the sexual abuse, you get to your lowest low when you're like, I would rather die than spend another day with this man. And for me, we were in Miami, and I took my kids to Parrot Jungle Island, and we were looking at photographs. We're going through, and all of a sudden, his demeanor changes. And I used to know it was something in me that's like, here we go. He just switched. I'm sitting with the monster now. His eyes would change, and his body, his posture would change. And he's looking at a picture, he goes, what the F is this? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because again, I haven't seen the pictures yet. What the F is this? Who is this man in this picture behind you? You should have eyes in the back of your damn head. You didn't know this man is behind you. Now, today we call that photobombing.
Right.
But I didn't know that he was behind me because here we are holding this ball python. So I'm thinking to myself, well, who has eyes in the back of their head, first of all? But what changed it for me was my daughter was sitting at the foot of the bed and she goes, Daddy, why are you being mean to my mom? Why are you talking to her like that?
How old was she at this time?
She had to be about 6.
Okay.
A light bulb went off in my head. And I said, Drea, if you stay, you are signing her name on a contract she never read. Drea, if you stay and she ends up with a man like this and you tell her to leave, she's going to say, why would I do that? You stayed with my dad all those years. And I believe in being a living, breathing example of a good mom, not a hypocrite mom.
Right.
And I just couldn't do it.
People sometimes don't understand what a big step that is, especially considering the high-profile marriage that you were in, and to say, I got to get out of this.
Well, you know, for me, the most important thing, and I say this all the time, I want my life to be that example. Then, honey, if I could leave R. Kelly, Maybachs, and drivers, you can leave Darnell with a bus pass and no job.
Hello.
You really can. You really
Well,
can.
what do you say to those women who are tied to the man because they need the money? There has to be some words of encouragement that you can even say to them.
Your soul, there's not a price tag you can put on your soul. You have to remember that. And I have a message for abusers also. They have a level of air and confidence about themselves that they need to be careful, because there's a lot of women sitting in prison right now who said that's the last time you put your hands on me.
Since you've come out and start telling your story, you've been victim shamed. Talk about that.
Oh, I've been victim shamed. People have said I didn't say anything because I got money. Now I'm speaking up because I want money. That is the craziest thing I have ever heard in my life. A matter of fact, the reason why I left is because you had so much money you thought I'd stay.
Okay. Yeah.
And people need to realize that a woman's life, especially when you're a mother, I had to calculate every move because my children had to deal with the repercussions of me telling a story. People don't realize my kids had to go through their father having a child pornography case,
right,
and then have your mother come out on top of it. So it's like, your dad's doing this, your mom's getting beat. That's too much for them to handle at a young age. So I always said, God, when you say it's time, I will move. When my children give approval, I will speak. And it got to the point where my kids said, Mom, tell your story. Right. And God gave me the peace to tell it. That's when I tell it, you know? And people need to understand, for women out there who've gone through it, there is no time limit on your healing, and no expiration date on your story. I don't care if you're 99 and it happened when you were 15, tell it.
Why are you telling this story now?
I'm telling the story now because I would hope that it would bring some level of validity to these women, young girls that are coming forward. Unfortunately, bring a brown woman in America, I'm last on the totem pole. Let's be real about it. Because if my name was Amber, it wouldn't have taken this long. I'm very real with the situation.
Right.
So if these women are coming forward and you're telling a story that rings true to my spirit, not because I heard it, not because I read it, because I experienced it, I need to speak. I need to be a voice for the voiceless. I need to use my platform as a celebrity to be power for the powerless, because clearly you all are not listening to these women when they speak.
When is the last time you talked to Robert?
It's been years.
Years?
Years, yes. He doesn't get to share my light. He was a very dark place. I got the best of him, which is his children, the very best of him. But I walk in my light right now. He was a very dark period in my life. He doesn't get to share that with me.
He even said in his book that he divorced you because you would not be a stay-at-home mom.
See, I'm from the South Side. Hello. We got divorced because he needed to understand I'm not your fan. I don't work for you. And there's not enough money in the world that will allow you to make me black and blue just to give me Gucci bags to say you're sorry for it later. That's why we got divorced. I threw a ring in the pond. That is very true in the book, because he did ask me, Drea, if it's not about money, if it's not about fame, throw the ring in the pond. I said, are you sure you want your answer? Are you sure? Because it has nothing to do with that. I have a God-given right to be free. I'm not your prisoner. I have a God-given right to go after my dreams just like you do. I deserve respect. I am your wife. I'm not your maid. I'm not your help. I'm not your driver. I'm not your fan. Are you sure about that? He said yes. Bloop. It went in the pond and she was gone.
Just like that.
Just like that. Now that part of his book is true.
Now, did that set him off? What do you say would trigger R. Kelly to do the things you say he did?
Oddly enough, me throwing that ring in the pond didn't. He was stunned. There were no words. That was the one time that I thought, this is going to be a doozy. He was stunned because I was done. Like, I can't do it anymore. Right. Anything, what would set him off? It could be anything from the milk being too cold to not cold enough for breakfast. It could be what I was wearing. It's too revealing, you know, not to wear it. It could be if someone came to our house and I spoke, he would really like, why are you talking to him? You should be looking at your feet.
Was this only with men?
Only with men. Only with men.
If you had 5 minutes with him today, after not talking to him for all these years, what would you say to him?
Get help.
He needs help?
I would say get help. Get professional help.
I think it's brave that you are telling your story. And like you said, it doesn't matter if it happened yesterday, 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years. It takes a certain level of courage to be able to talk about something. And especially, what do your kids think about you going out and talking about their dad and intimate things that have happened to you, knowing that they, you know, they're still around, their dad's around, and they may get it, they may hear it, or they may suffer the repercussions of it?
You know, I have this big smile on my face because my kids are amazing. They're like, yes, Mom, do that, girl. Yes. Like, they are my biggest supporters. They are actually the ones that keep me going when I do get victim shamed.
You mentioned your big smile, and I gotta say, like, I didn't know exactly what I was gonna get when I got a chance to sit down and talk with you, but how are you able to smile so big?
When I go on social media and somebody goes, Drea, you telling your story, I left a marriage I've been in for 59 years. Or when I have someone say, you know what, my sister lost her life, but she reminds me so much of you. I wish she could have met you. That's what keeps a smile on my face.
Yeah.
Because I know that this isn't about me. And I know I'm just a vessel. Because in my humanness, I don't have the courage or the strength to endure. But I know as a vessel of God, He'll give me all that I need and get me through it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Tell us about your website, because your website is also another tool to help folks.
Yes, yes. If you go to officialdreakelly.com, I have a video memoir, and a portion of the proceeds are going to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. It's going to allow me to help facilitate, you know, just the simple things that women need when they're leaving. They don't think about gas money, money to feed my kids. They don't realize that when I leave with my children, if I don't have their birth certificates, social security cards or mine, how can I even put them in school? How can I even get a job? I don't even have identification to say who I am. I believe that domestic violence awareness should be 365, not just in October. Yeah. Women are dying every day of every month of every year.
Right, right. I have to ask you this before I let you go. What do you say to that diehard R. Kelly fan? That woman who still, no matter what they hear about him, from you, from anyone else, that still rides with R. Kelly. What do you say to them?
I would say to them, you love R. Kelly, but you might not like Robert.
I think that's well said. Thank you, Drea. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. If you or someone you know is being abused, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. The number is 800-799-7233.